Hey, y'all, Scott Horton here for Liberty.me, the social network and community-based publishing platform for the liberty-minded. Liberty.me combines the best of social media technology all in one place and features classes, discussions, guides, events, publishing, podcasts, and so much more. And Jeffrey Tucker and I are starting a new monthly show at Liberty.me, Eye on the Empire. It's just $4 a month if you use promo code SCOTT when you sign up. And hey, once you do, add me as a friend on there at scotthorton.liberty.me. Be free. Liberty.me. Hey, I'm Scott. It's my show, The Scott Horton Show. Next up is John Whitehead. He writes a hell of a lot of great essays at Rutherford.org, the site of the Rutherford Institute, which he runs. And his previous book was The Government of Wolves, and the brand new one is called Battlefield America, The War on the American People. And hey, it's got a foreword by Ron Paul. Nice. Welcome back to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, fine, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Very happy to have you on. So, I'm interested a little bit, anyway, in this Jade Helm thing. Obviously, a hell of a big deal has been made out of it. But so can we start with just the facts? What exactly is Jade Helm?
Well, it's a military exercise. They're running in 8 states, starting July 15th. I think it's going to go for 7 weeks. Supposedly, places like Texas are like Afghanistan for the troops to train. In fact, I live here in Virginia, and they do those same kind of exercises, the SEAL here. They've been doing them for years, openly. So you can see the troops and hear the airplanes going over your house and shaking your house and things like that. These exercises have been going on openly since the 1980s. You can go on your websites. I mentioned it in my new book, Battlefield America. There was an exercise that Ronald Reagan with Rumsfeld and Cheney, they ran, called Rex 84, where there's supposedly 100,000 dissidents they'd have to round up in time of a national emergency. My own opinion on these things, they're so open now. They're through Florida. I mean, some local police in different states are actually driving around now in armored vehicles and camouflage outfits. I think that we're slowly being acclimated to a possibility of a martial law state. I don't know if you saw recently in a small town in California, the National Guard was marching through the streets. They called it community outreach, doing drills.
It seems like we got a few different things here that may or may not be exactly the same thing. I mean, the Rex 84 thing was, right, if we invade Nicaragua and there's a bunch of left-wing and Latino protesters, we'll round all them up and put them in camps and all this kind of thing and suspend the Constitution to do so, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
But now, so these training exercises, I mean, it sure sounds like it's a hell of a big deal. 8 states. It's a huge training exercise.
A lot of money, yeah.
But,
a lot of planning.
But their story that, well, we're practicing for killing Arabs. We got Iraq War III coming up here. Is that not the obvious explanation of what's going on here?
Well, it may be the obvious. I don't know. I mean, I'm not at the top with the generals who meet with the continuity of government groups and stuff like that, and they do exist. It's what the Washington Post called our shadow government. There's about between 100 and 150 individuals supposedly will take over in time of emergency. Supposedly they coordinate with these activities with the White House and Department of Defense. So, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm 40 years civil libertarian. I've worked in and out of D.C., sued a lot of politicians. It's difficult to know exactly what's going on right now, but I would say keep an eye on it, see what happens. I don't think at this time we need to run for the hills. No, I don't, unless there's something there that I'm not seeing. But what it seems to be doing, it'll acclimate a lot of people to the idea that the military can march through your streets. But if you read the Founding Fathers, they would be pretty freaked out by it. So,
well, on the most basic level, it's dangerous to be flying Black Hawk helicopters around doing these drills in American cities.
Well, they fly over cities. People complain. I've had people call me saying their houses are shaking, those kind of things. The National Guard in some states doing exercises against an extremist enemy, and the extremist enemy turns out to be gun owners. There is a mentality that there is a group of Americans out there, and I see it. I mean, in dealing with some SWAT team members and other people that talk to me, there is a mentality, there is a dangerous group of Americans that could uprise at any moment. That may be true, but I don't see that. By the way, the FBI statistics recently released about a year ago show that crime in America among citizens is a 40-year low. The murder rate in 2013 was the lowest in a century in this country, and unarmed cops getting killed cops getting killed in the line of duty is at a 50-year low. So I don't see Americans running around blasting people away. The only people I see going down that aren't armed are by people that work for the government.
Right. Yeah. No.
So the statistics don't. Why they would spend all this money doing this in 8 states. And again, there's very little accountability. There was a recent report showing that billions of dollars that the Pentagon has been spending overseas is totally unaccounted for. They don't even know where it goes.
Oh, yeah, no, they never did.
To be honest with you, I met I had a former, I won't say what branch of the service, but he met with me too long ago. He was a high-up officer. He said that he left the service because of the cash that he saw being handed out in Afghanistan to people of that country and whoever they were. He said that was one. And the second thing was driving by opium fields and seeing American troops guarding them. Right. That's what he told me. I don't know if that's the truth, but he left the service, he said, because of that.
Oh, sure. Well, no, there's plenty of reporting along those lines.
But I have to say this. I don't think there's no one running, whoever's running the show, there's no accountability. They're milking us dry with money like this. These exercises, do you really need to do it in 8 states?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think, the question. I mean, you look at Fort Hood, it's the size of Austin. I mean, it's huge. There's plenty of training.
I know. I was an infantry officer. I served at Fort Hood.
Yeah, there you go. So you tell me. There's plenty of training ground at American military bases.
All the training exercises I did, I was an Army officer, infantry officer.
I guess the only reason, if I sound a little skeptical at all about this, is just
you should be skeptical.
I've heard all of this before in the 1990s, and I thought they were going way too far back then, and there was collateral damage, where they shot through a restaurant's window and almost killed some people one night, and I think that one was in Florida. And, I think flying the Black Hawks around are really dangerous and all that. But as far as the martial law scare, I mean, we saw that really what they were training for was Iraq. I mean, they were training for fighting urban warfare in Arabia and using San Antonio as a stand-in for that. I mean, and that's, to me, what this looks like is they got to be trained in order to be, effective killers. And so if we're sending the Army back to Mosul, the new generation of young guys in there, they got to know how to rappel out of a Black Hawk. Whatever the task is, right?
I was an infantry officer. We did a pretty good job of training them at Fort Hood without really doing huge exercises.
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of money going on here. I mean, for example, all this military equipment going to local police, and you have to put that in conjunction with the military exercises. You have a very militarized police, but the original rumor floated out there that all this equipment flowing to local police was old equipment out of Afghanistan, blah, blah. We did research. Over 40% of it's brand new. So I talked to a few people that work out of Washington, and they say, yeah, man, some of these corporations are making a killing off this stuff. They're making it just to make money. And you'll find out a lot of that stuff that you're seeing the military using and all this, there's a profit motive driven by people that have a lot of influence in Washington, D.C. But we don't have that kind of influence, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, when even like some of the scariest ones where wow, all the sheriffs are buying bayonets and right down to the post office and the Social Security Administration, they're arming themselves. I mean, to me, this is all just corporate welfare, right? This is just a deal for bullets. Yeah,
a lot of money, they're making a lot of dough, and there's no accountability, as I'm saying. Again, I know it. I've sued politicians. I've seen reports. I've done depositions. Washington, D.C. is a very corrupt institution. So, and James Madison, who wrote the Bill of Rights, he gave us the thing we should be most concerned about. He said this is exactly what we ought to mistrust all those in power. And the reason you do that, only good citizens do that. And good citizens question government. They ask questions. And there are some paranoid folks out there, but as someone recently told me, paranoia means you're perceptive, and that may be true as well.
Right. Well, and, there's just no denying that when you put it all together the way you often do in these articles that, hey, here's 75 shocking facts about what the government's been up to lately.
And here's the key. You can't, people, but you'll have a tough time resisting. They're armed to the teeth. So watch if you're one of those groups that wants to charge some militarized police unit. Watch out.
Yep. All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming back on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right. That's John Whitehead. Everybody's at Rutherford.org. In America today, teachers, cops, judges, and other so-called public servants make far more than the average taxpayer. And their pensions, well, if the people knew, they'd join us. That's where you come in. Taxpayers United of America is embarking on a great new project to train activists how to take on the parasites in your communities. The entire process, from prying loose the facts to disseminating the truth to the people. The next of these great workshops is Saturday, April 25th in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's just $15. For more information, go to taxpayersunited.org/govpensions. This part of the Scott Horton Show is sponsored by Audible.com. And right now, if you go to audibletrial.com/Scott Horton Show, you can get your first audiobook for free. Of course, I'm recommending Michael Swanson's book, The War State, The Cold War Origins of the Military-Industrial Complex and the Power Elite. Maybe you've already bought The War State in paperback, but you just can't find the time to read it. Well, now you can listen while you're out marching around. Get the free audiobook of The War State by Michael Swanson, produced by Listen and Think Audio at audibletrial.com/Scott Horton Show.